Karalynn Cromeens. I don't call you Your Honor. What do you call a lawyer?
Esquire. No.
Esquire.
Call me
Your
Karalynn.
Highness. Just Karalynn.
Yeah, just Karalynn.
Yeah. Yeah. Today you're going to be the answer giver.
And in a situation I know a lot about, right? Like what I've discovered is that everybody has their superpower, right? And like building cabinets is a superpower. Like I would never understand or know how to do, but they look awesome. Yeah. My superpower is like taking legal complex ideas and breaking them down into plain English so everybody can understand them.
Oh, that's perfect. We're going to have a plain English discussion today.
I agree. Absolutely. That's the most important.
Do you know, just as you were saying, everybody's got a superpower. I know you have a masonry back. We'll get to your background in a second, but I've always wanted to know how to do dry stone walls.
Me too. I look at them all the time. I sell the materials, but I've never actually.
Yeah, I don't know. That's your family business. But of all the things I want to learn how to do, I think when my back was younger, that's what I wanted to learn how to do. Now I like looking at them. I'm like, how'd they do that? But anyways. Hey, Karalynn Cromeens, you're on the Profit Tool Belt podcast. And you know who our audience is because you've spoken to us before.
Absolutely.
It's all contractors, all construction professionals running a business, facing forward in their company. But we don't know who you are. So who the heck are you? And why are you talking to us?
Okay. Well, I'm Karalynn Cromeens. I'm a licensed attorney and have been for the last 17 years who's dealt exclusively in construction. And not only that, I think the construction industry is its own section, its own lingo. I grew up in construction, right? It started from the time I was little. My grandfather had an excavation company. When I was a teen, I had my first job. I worked for my uncle who had an irrigation company. Oh. And then when I was like out of college, my husband and I started our own masonry supply company. And so I come to the legal profession with the background of, okay, here's the things that are important for contractors, like, a lawyer that answers the phone when you have a question, and that knows construction and the lingo, because it is its own little section.
Well, and the stories you gather, I mean, you and I have had great side conversations.
Absolutely.
Names withheld to protect the innocent, of course. Right. I know both you and I do that. We hold confidentiality very high. But when we have those conversations, those add, it adds spice to the contracts because you understand the nuances of what a clause actually means or what the impact could be.
Correct. And like today on the residential topic, I've represented both homeowners and contractors. And so I've seen it from both sides. Oh. And I see like the biggest thing and where we get in trouble is this: they don't talk to each other and they don't manage expectations well. And so that's kind of what we need to do properly in a residential construction contract.
Now, just before we get started, I have people listening to this who are both on the residential and the commercial side. Just for people who are listening who think, oh, this is for resi guys, I'm not going to listen. Do you deal with commercial TI type stuff as well?
Absolutely. And in that, like the residential guys have got the benefit where they get to call their own shots, right? They get this, the owner's going to sign their contract. The commercial guys are at the whim of the general contractor or the owner that
they get handed an agreement.
Yeah. And so, and here's the thing is like, okay, now everybody wants it like, if I push back, they won't hire me. Okay, so that's cool, but there's things that we can do that we can meet in the middle. And so the first part of it is understanding what the risks are, which I offer on a flat fee. We're going to go through and tell you, here's what the pay when paid clause means. Here's what the termination for convenience clause means. Here's what all these things mean and how they'll affect you. And then you can rate on the scale of 1 to 5 how important that is for you. Right. And we'll go back and negotiate the top 3, the top 2, where people get into troubles when they just cross out and say, no, I'm not going to sign it. So if we come
then you're
back,
at a stalemate.
Yeah. Then we come back at like, here's why I can't, but here's a reasonable offer where we can meet in the middle. So.
Well, you and I you've been a guest on the show before. I'm pretty sure you're going to be a guest again.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see how you do today though, Karalynn. I'm not making any promises.
I know. I got it.
But yeah, on the previous show, you talked about material price increases and material price substitutions. So for anybody who's listening that wants more reference on that, go look for Karalynn's previous interview here. But today we're going to talk about residential contract preparation and tips.
Yes.
Well, Karalynn, what are those contract preparation and tips?
So the first thing that I can say about the preparation side is to understand like one thing, especially from a contractor's point of view. This is what you do every day. You know what's going to happen. This is not what the homeowner does every day, and they have no idea what's going to happen. Don't get me wrong. They have an idea in their mind of how things should go, right? And that usually came from somebody's brother-in-law's best friend or something. It's not anything basis in reality, but that is the standard that you will be judged by until you correct it. And so what we're going to do in a contract is bring it down to reality. Here's what we can really expect. And obviously if issues do arise, answer the phone, let's dive in and deal with them. Right. Because I've seen that the one of the biggest complaints from homeowners, especially if there's no contract, and that's just a mess, but is the lack of communication. And I don't know if contractors get afraid, or if sometimes they're afraid, sometimes they just don't want to deal with it. They think it's over the top.
Right.
So, we're coming at this. The point of the contract and the point of the meeting is to get us on the same page so we can work together. Everybody knows what to expect. Things will go smoothly and you'll get paid on time, and then you go on to the next job, right?
So some of the people I've talked to, because I talked to lots of people who listen, I haven't talked to everybody who listens, but some will say, well, Dom, we don't really have a contract. We get like an agreement by email that says, yeah, you got the job based on the estimate. And we have some pretty simple paper. It keeps life simple. What would you say to the listeners out there? And let's just say there's 10 of them out there. Out of the thousands who listen, there's just 10, wink, wink, who do that. What would you say to them?
That it's better than nothing.
Good.
But there will, I'd much rather have that than nothing at all. But there are always situations. Here's the other thing is that the contract you have is a living, breathing thing. And there are things that are going to happen that you want to write for in the next contract. Like the homeowner that is out there every day trying to tell you what to do, or trying to tell your guys what to do, right? And so if that happens to you, the next contract is like, hey, you don't have right to contact my subs. And then, you can say, hey, you're now in breach of the
Your contract gets smarter. You can make smarter contracts if you amend them, change them.
Absolutely.
Going forward.
And it's just different for every trade. Like if you're a sod guy and the grass dies because they didn't water it, you're going to want to put in there that's not covered under warranty, right?
Right.
So I prefer email. Something is better than nothing. But I think if you want to scale something, I'm going to borrow from Tom Reber here, you can't scale a turd. So you got to have that built-in protection.
Documentation, clarity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I've also seen contracts and agreements that are just hard to read. There's just thousands of words on a page, and people aren't using simple grids or tables. And I know we're not into the material that you cover yet, but the simple language agreement, you got my ear on that, because there's a lot of complicated ones that are going to actually turn me off or make me more concerned about what this other person, see what your face did there? Yeah, what are you trying to do to me? I don't understand the language here. So what's your take on the simple language, really well laid out contract?
Okay, so your contract doesn't have to be full of legalese to be effective. So what I did when I was drafting my outline for my contract is I drafted all the important things and I put it in there, and I took it to my marketing department, who knows nothing about the legal world. Yeah. And I said, let's go back and forth on this until you can understand what it says. And so it's got all the legal, what is in there is is legally required to protect you.
Right.
But it's in a way that both you and your customer can understand, because a document neither one of you can understand is not going to do you any good.
Yeah.
Right. It's not, don't be wrong. It may help you when you end up in a dispute because you have a way, there was some contract term in there that's a way out, but you're already in a dispute being sued when we have to trigger that. So let's come back to a point where we don't ever end up there. And so that's really what I'm trying to do, prevent all that, a lawyer who's trying to end litigation, but
I appreciate you saying that, because I've gone through a lawsuit myself. And my lawyer said to me, Dom, are you sure you want to do this? And you know what I said? I know you've heard this before. I'm right. And so, yes, we're going to go to court. Yes, we're going to
just give me the $100,000 now.
I know. Well, that's right. Now, and my lawyer is fantastic, but all I ended up doing was paying the lawyers, and we really didn't achieve what I wanted to in the beginning. And I can tell you now, and I can tell you this honestly, because I've had a chance to digest this and burp. It was my ego.
You're pissed off at first. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, wow. You've done this before.
And I don't want you to get there, right? Because I know what it's like. Yeah. And I know what it's like, not from the attorney's perspective, but from the client perspective. It's scary. It's intimidating. It's expensive, and it takes up all your time. Your time and money is better well spent improving your business, even if that means walking away from $10,000, because it will cost so much more in the long run. Yeah. I know it sucks, but you're going to be so mad at me when we're fighting over $10,000 and you paid me 20 and we're nowhere near the end.
I know. Yeah, no, I can't agree more. The other little flavor I'd like to add on there, just another something on that sandwich, is that it's already stressful running a company. And that stress isn't just on you, the owner, it's also on your spouse, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, whoever you've got. And so when you add a lawsuit on there, oh, so much fun. Look at what your eyes just did.
Because I just had a client that I had on the phone. Okay. And he's a residential contractor and he usually does new builds. So like from the ground up. And he has a great contract for that. Well, this particular time, he went out of his normal thing and he was being hired just to manage. He wasn't paying the guys. He was just showing up, kind of telling them what to do. And he was hiring them and whatever. And so what happened is the contract with the roofer was signed with him. Okay. And towards the end, the owner's like, I got it from here, I'll take over. And the owner didn't like what the roofer did. So he didn't pay him. Well, the roofer didn't get paid and he's got a contract with my client. So the roofer sued, the roofer sued my client, just the manager, and served his wife with the lawsuit on Christmas Eve. And he was out golfing and gets a hysterical, threatening divorce phone call from his wife about how did he let this happen? I can't believe.
And you're out golfing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was, and here's the thing is that I don't have a contract now that says I was just a construction manager. It looks like on the paperwork that he was the general contractor, that he owes them the money. Somebody
listening to this show has pulled over to the side of the road and they're resting their head on the steering wheel.
It's all right.
We're just like,
we'll figure it out. We'll get
and if somebody's in that situation, Karalynn, at the end, will say how to get in touch with you. But I'm not a lawyer. Let me start by that. But I'm going to say, figure this, whatever dispute you're in with somebody, go figure it out, settle it, and move on with your life. And keep listening to my show, and we'll go make more money together.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's easier to do that than being dragged by this huge anchor that's trying to drown you, because it does.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is that's what give me a call. We can talk through what your options are and I can lay them out for you. And then you can make the phone call or take the guess on what you want to do next. But it's an informed decision, right?
Yeah.
Like I get calls all the time of like, this is what's going on. What are my options? How can I prevent this? What's the best way? And I'm just going to be honest with you because I don't want you, because if you hire me, we end up in this big mess, you're going to be mad at me and I wouldn't blame you.
What's when we talk about residential contracts, sometimes we hear the word boilerplate. What does that mean for the rest of us in the world? It's a boilerplate agreement.
Garbage.
Oh, really?
Honestly, boilerplate is the plain English term for, bull crap that you can't understand. It really is. Just people call it boilerplate because they don't know what it means. And a good contract shouldn't have any boilerplate. It should be like, here's what's going to happen. Okay, you don't pay me when I ask. Here's the consequences of that.
Right. It does need to be that simple. So let's take this through maybe a role play where this company should never be formed, by the way, but let's just say that Rubino Remodeling and Renovations gets formed and I call you up and say, hey, Karalynn, I'm starting this company, or it's been running for a couple of years and I think it's time for me to have a solid agreement. What process are you going to take me through as a lawyer to make sure that my documentation is, up to par for, modern standards of an agreement?
Okay, so we're going to do kind of like an interview, and I'm going to find out about your business so I can make sure that the contract that I give you is correct for you, and that there's different required language in all 50 states for residential contracts. So we're going to make sure we put in that too. But the things I want to know, are you a contractor that's done in a few days, or are you a milestone payments, right? And so we're going to build dates. Exactly. So yeah. So the first thing we're going to do, that's one of the questions I'm going to ask. And then the other thing is, how do you describe your scope of work? Do you do a purchase order? Do you have plans? What is your normal course of doing that? Because I want to make sure that I incorporate into that contract, right? So if you normally have a set of plans, I'm going to say the scope of work as described on plans attached as Exhibit A. You can do that. And the other thing I'm going to ask you is like, what happens sometimes? What is the most likely thing that a homeowner is going to think is included that is not, right? Because I want to put in there what's not included too, because that's where we also get in trouble. What I tell my clients is describe your scope of work like you're sitting in front of 12 strangers that know nothing about construction. Because if you do it wrong, that's
what's going to
talking to, right? So,
if disposal, right, if disposal is not part of it, or actual delivery isn't part of your scope of work, but taking charge of the if the roofing supplies are being delivered, but you're not in charge of delivery, you have to say, we take it from drop off,
Yep.
roll off truck, whatever it is.
Yep. And if you've been in business a while, you'll kind of know what those are, right? I want to make sure I address those in the scope. And then, so the scope, and we're talking about payment terms. And then another thing that's super helpful is I want to talk about, what is your normal schedule? What does that look like? And what I tell my clients is go long on the date, right? Because they're going to make plans based on the date you say you're going to complete.
Oh, yeah.
And if you finish early, you're a hero. You finish late, you're a zero. So, you build them up right. So, because that's the date. And so the schedule that's in the contract, and here's how things are going to go. So we're going to have a conversation about what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I like that tip to overestimate when it's going to be done, because usually, I just gave the example of a renovation contractor. The reason that we're renovating, if we dig really hard, is because something's happening. Our daughter's finished college. She's moving back home. My mother-in-law is coming to stay with us, and it better be finished before she shows up, or all you know what's going to break loose. Or there was a flood and we had to rebuild the bathroom, right? So those things are real. And it is better to paint the worst picture possible so you can over deliver. And yeah.
Because they're doing it for a reason, and it's either to have friends over to whatever, and they want to enjoy it. And you give them that date, they're already planning parties based on that date.
They are. Postpone? Yeah, you look bad. It doesn't matter how much wine you bring, and you won't get invited to the party, and you won't get the neighbor's house. What about change orders? Do you deal with change orders in the initial contract, or what should a contractor do when change orders isn't part of their normal language, but they keep getting saddled with, hey, could you just do this one extra thing?
That and so I look at change orders from two different things, and I think it's hugely important to put in your contract. So especially like, let's take the renovation contractor, for example. The homeowner hires you and you tear out a wall, and there's a bunch of rotten wood or electrical stuff that has to be redone, and you had no idea that it was there. They don't understand that, right? They see he's coming to me asking for money for something he should have known, right? They don't realize you couldn't see through the wall.
I couldn't see through the wall. Yeah.
Like in my contract, it says, I'm very good at what I do. I'm a professional, especially when we get into roofers with sheathing underneath that they can't see. I'm very good at what I do, but there are going to be things that I can't see that may cost more. And here's how we're going to handle it. If that happens, I'm going to show you. We're going to talk about it with the increased prices. And also from the other side of, like, if you want me to do anything else, I'm more than happy to give you a price. And there's a change order form that's attached to the contract. So it's right there. And okay. And so even if you don't do the change order form, do it on an email saying, hey, I'm agreeing to do this work for this much extra dollars. If you agree, reply yes, because then we have something in writing. If you don't have anything in writing and you do that extra work, you're not entitled to be paid for it or lien for it.
And this might be too deep, but should that change order be included as part of the original contract, or should it be added as a separate billable item at the end?
It depends on how you want to do it. So like the actual change order form, I would put in with the contract so you can just do it, because what the change order is basically an addendum or a change to the contract, right? Most contractors, what I've seen work successfully is once they do, they're either paid up front before they do the change order, or they're paid immediately after. So it's not worked into the milestone payments, just because it's an extra thing, or 50% up front and 50% upon completion that we're working in there. So I do think that change orders should have their own payment terms.
Right.
Because it's outside of the contract.
Yeah. And this is the business coach in me coming out. Change orders have a different profit margin built into them.
Usually.
They should.
Absolutely.
Because it increases the scope of the job. You've got your crew who you thought was going to be there for, doesn't matter, 3 days or 30 days, but now they're going to be held up a day when I'm supposed to get to the Cromeens house and start on their project. Exactly. So there's real costs here in dispatch and change. And a lot of homeowners don't understand that. But what I'm hearing from you that I like that you're restating this is, I better communicate those really well during my sales process. It's the honeymoon phase anyway, when we're all excited, we're going to add dormers to our house, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And then you come back and say, we found bats. You need a pest control guy. We found this. You need that.
Exactly. And they're like, how did you not know about this? You're the renovation guy. And you're like, dude, I can't see through walls.
Yeah. Well, or you could say, remember when we were sitting at the kitchen table and I said, as soon as we start to peel your house apart, we're going to find things. This is the form we're going to fill out. It's a change order form, and you'll have a chance to approve or disapprove it, or, we'll deal with it at that time, I guess.
or go
I
get
don't
other
know.
prices, or
You gotta, yeah. Every contractor out there hearing this is understanding that.
Yeah.
Or is understanding the situation.
Right.
What are the other? So we're taking me. By the way, we're taking me through the process. Rubino. What did we call it? Rubino renovations and remodeling.
Yes, there you go.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So you do a discovery call with me. You find out more about my business and how we operate. What do you ask me a little bit about quote unquote trouble I've been in before, or problems that I keep seeing?
Pain points, things
Oh.
you don't want to repeat, right?
Yeah.
I had one guy that had a very intense client, and he wanted to not work for them anymore, but the contract he had didn't give him an out. Like,
Oh.
I don't want to work for you anymore out. So he didn't have that as an option. So when we redid his contract, we gave him the out. And in that particular case, he threatened to quit. And they're like, oh no, we'll do whatever you say. And so it ended up going all right. But he didn't, if he wanted to, he couldn't have gotten out. So that's something that you need to build into your contract. If you want to rip cord for any reason, I can pull and we're done, right? Because that's generally not a term in a contract.
Yeah.
And so knowing that on the front end.
That's a good segue actually to material price increases and material price substitutions, because sheathing, plywood, just things have gone up so much that if I'm locked into a contract that's no longer profitable for me to do, I guess I would need that tiny little clause you put in there about
Absolutely. What's the ripcord for no reason, or you can address it like, if material costs increase more than 2 or 3% from the time I bid this project, I'm entitled to be paid the difference. Because here's the thing: if you don't put those provisions in there, you're going to eat the increased costs, unless you have a really nice homeowner that's willing to pay you extra money just because legally, if you don't put that in, you're not entitled to. And I think everybody has a hard understanding of that. It's like, it's not fair to me that the material price increased. I said it's not fair to them that they didn't know that you were going to increase the price unless you say that.
Well, yeah, they don't know that the supplier increased the price of, well, you're in the masonry business, your family. So I'm sure you've seen natural stone and just the shipment problems across the world, things go up in price.
And that's the other thing too, when you're talking about schedule and the supply chains issue, I would put that in there too. This schedule is dependent upon me getting everything like it's supposed to be. And if not, we're going to work through it, but I'm not going to be penalized for that, right?
Yeah.
Because you never know.
Well, I'm going to ask everybody, keep listening to the show about systems that we have in SOPs for communicating with the client, with the customer, because it can't always be by surprise. The best way, this is Dom taking over the interview, if you don't mind, but
no, you're good.
Get ahead of the communications. Like, tell your customer, we're going to talk every Tuesday at 2:00 just for 15 minutes. And in that 15-minute update, I'll tell you this, this, and that. And you can ask me this, this, and that. So they always know you're there, and it's never like you're hiding.
Absolutely.
But a second ago, I asked you about the masonry business and natural stone. And I know one of the problems that happen with natural products like stone and like wood is that no two pieces are alike, which is the beauty of the thing. Oh, you're already laughing. This is right in Karolynn's. This is probably your dinner table conversation.
Another great contract term.
Well, thank you. That's why I said it. What do we do when we are dealing with natural products and the variations there? Or sometimes even for the cabinet people, they paint it a color, but it looks different in different rooms. But it's the same color.
Yeah.
How do you
just got to be upfront about that, right? Especially on the natural stuff, is that, guys, this is a natural product. You're going to pick something out that is a sample. It's going to get as close as possible, but there's going to be a variation, right? Because if not, they're expecting exactly what that sample is, right? And the same thing with the paint, that's going to look different in different rooms. You're going to be open about that. Take the swatch into other rooms, see if you like it there too, so that they know on the front end. And sometimes you're still going to have those hard homeowners that, no, I wanted this one. You can be like, hey guys, I told you this could happen. If push comes to shove, then you're protected, because there's still going to be those homeowners that even though you tell them that, maybe this is not what I expected.
So you're familiar with specific language about variations in natural products, because that comes up again and again, and people have expectations that it's stamped out of a machine, that every piece of wood flooring is going to look like the other piece. And that's the vinyl stuff.
You can get that, right? But it's not a natural product. It's not, I'm saying you can get synthetic that will do the same thing, but it's not going to be the same feel, right? So at least the things that I've, especially like granite, right? If you're going to order granite, where they have the synthetic granite, I can't remember the name of that is very consistent, order natural granite, it's not like that.
I'm always amazed at the granite, like the countertop companies that put out these big marketing brochures about a specific pattern of stone. And I'm like, how big of a mountain are they carving that out? And how do they know they have that much?
Exactly.
Right? That they've named this thing, horse's tail, willowing horse's tail, and you got to have it. I'm like, I don't know that you've got enough of that stuff.
Exactly. Unless you're
Right?
going to make it, unless you're going to make a
Unless they're making it. Yeah. Unless it's
synthetic copy of it or something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you've now done the interview with me, and I'm the perfect customer.
Yeah.
And then I come back to you with a problem, and I say, hey, Karalynn, we did that contract for renovations, and this one customer found a loophole. They found a way. So now I'm back in front of you or any lawyer. What's the process going to be then when we're now having a dispute with a customer for some reason? And I have to add, and I hope everybody understands this, having a dispute, don't take this the wrong way, Karalynn, but in my mind, when we're talking about the contract, things have gone the wrong way. We should avoid talking about the contract as much as possible. Are you thumbs up or thumbs down on that?
No, absolutely. Because when you're getting into the contract, we're talking about demand letters and what does the contract say? The first thing I'm going to do when I draft the demand letters, what does the contract say? And then I'm going to cram it down your throat, right?
Nice to know. Hopefully you're on my side.
That's the tactic, right? If we're looking at the contract, it's obviously too late. I actually just talked to a woman today who is a granite company. And she said, I did everything this woman wanted. I I even came back and changed her the piece for free. She's been getting these emails about how she needs to redo everything and change everything. And my client's got to pay for it. I'm like, no, that's not. And it turns out in this particular case, the homeowner didn't hire my client. So we don't have a contract. You can't sue me, but we still need to send a letter so you don't get sued. So there are those situations that, if a homeowner's telling you, if they didn't hire you, they can't sue you.
But avoidance doesn't work either. Is what I just heard from what you said is avoiding it doesn't work, or I'm going to get looped into some larger lawsuit where I get named, and now I have to deal with it anyways.
Yeah, and that's what I told her. I said, let's lay. Although I don't think you need to, let's go ahead and lay out all the reasons why you disagree with what she's saying, and then we'll put at the end. Your dispute is actually with your contractor, not me. You can't sue me. But what a demand letter is Exhibit A in the other attorney's lawsuit. And if there's no response, it looks like you didn't care and you didn't answer, whether that's true or not. But a lawyer is always trying to build evidence. And that is the first exhibit, right? I sent you this letter. You didn't care enough to respond.
Yeah.
How are you asking the jury to take you seriously now? Why would you care now?
I didn't know that. I don't know how they train you guys. So that was interesting. Is that what you guys are always trying to do?
Yeah, we're always looking for swords. And here's the thing is I have a client now too. It's like, I believe him. He is 100% convinced that what he did was absolutely right. And I believe him. Well, the other side is saying, no, that's not that way. And so when that happens, not that I don't believe my client, it becomes a very expensive fight, right? Because he didn't have a very clear contract.
Okay. So the he said, she said situation, or he said, whatever it is.
Exactly.
And we're going by word of mouth. And
then when you're in that situation, you know what it comes down to? Credibility. Because a judge or a jury is going to tell who's telling the truth by your credibility. And you can have a bad day and start to stutter and they think you're lying.
Oh, okay. You mean just by how you hold yourself in the...
Like how you judge a person if you think they're trustworthy, right? You know nothing about this person. They know nothing about you. So crazy. And that's why lawyers can look for outside things to make you look like you're not telling the truth.
Oh, where they bring
and then the credibility just crumbles if you can bring up one thing that makes it look like.
Do you drink Americanos or lattes? Sometimes I change. So you change your mind on a regular basis. So just let's start to wind things down. But I have a question for you about minimum invoice size, because I know there's some people listening who go, "This is a great interview and it's very entertaining, but our jobs are under $1,000. We do service work. We do this. We do that. We really don't need contracts. Maybe we're a we do lawn maintenance or something like that." Where do you think the line is drawn on the size of the transaction for an agreement to make sense?
I think even on an invoice like that, having a small, on the back of the invoice, terms and conditions is a good idea. Like I said, having something in writing is better than nothing. But most of the guys that walk into my office are being sued or being like, it was such a small job, I didn't bother to do anything, or I was doing this for charity, and I'm getting sued, or it's the things that they don't normally do or they think are too small. I mean, even if it's an email, right? Just something that, but I think it's worth, if you're always in that size, you're done in a day, it's $1,000. If you have like a platform, we can put terms and conditions in there that it's just part of the invoice. You can put them on the back. I think there's things that can be added that protect you, like warranty, what voids a warranty, just if things.
Yeah. So the customer doesn't necessarily, let's say it's a $600 contract just for the sake of it. Maybe we're a tile repair company. We fix broken tiles in your outdoor living space. Come in, we do the work, $600. We're out before first coffee break. My agreement should just have legal. We don't have to have a back and forth and agree on the contract. It's just part of the.
It's just the terms and conditions of service.
Okay.
And you could write it in such a way that they understand it as well, right? If they bother to read it, which most people don't, that it's understandable. If here's our agreement, obviously, I would much rather have that than not. But like I said, something in writing is better than nothing, because if not, then you get into the he said, she said fights, and it gets really expensive.
Yeah. Yikes. Okay. One last thing. Does a contract help you with your insurance premiums? Like Absolutely. Knowing that you have it does.
Absolutely.
So give us 2 minutes on that, or 2 seconds on that.
No, because an insurance company is always looking to avoid risk, right? And if you're less of a risk, if you have a contract and, that says, here's what we're going to do, here's what's covered, here's what's not covered, you're less likely to get sued, which means you're less likely to file a claim. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Insurance companies are very good at taking premiums, but they do not like to be good at paying things.
No.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Mr. Incredible? I mean, The Incredibles?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. The Incredibles. That's right.
And so the first scene, like one of the first scenes, is Mr. Incredible. And he's an insurance agent. And the old lady comes up to him and says, "Why did you deny my claim?" And he's like, "You got to take this 12 steps to go here, whatever." That's what actually he ends up getting fired. But that's what it's like dealing with an insurance company.
That's right. And he says, "You did not look at this clause. You did not say this. You did not have this piece of paper." And then she goes and.
Did not come from me.
Yeah. And suddenly her claim was approved because she knew what to do. Yeah. Hey, listen, if somebody wants to get in touch, because we only have so much time here and you're busy, how do we find you in this big way? Actually, you know what I have here, Karalynn?
Oh, my favorite book.
I love your title. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was like, so for those of you who aren't watching the video, because this is on YouTube as well, Quit Getting Screwed.
And that's for your commercial guys. That goes through all of the nasty terms of a subcontract and what they mean.
I love it. You even have clauses in here, like if a subcontractor deems that the services of work to which their work is supplied, right? But you actually have clause examples and then a description. But you've got a second book. This one's called Quit Getting Screwed. I don't even want to say this to a lady. What's the second book called?
Quit Getting Stiffed, which is
what a great title for a book.
Well, when you don't get paid, you're stiff. So it's all about collections.
That's right. I forgot you do a lot of collections work on behalf of construction companies as well.
Absolutely. Which is not so much usually a problem on residential. Sometimes it is, especially, and that's another thing we put in the contract about, the final punch, you sign off, I'm going to wait for the check kind of thing. And about drawing most of the project towards the front and leaving a very little portion on the end.
Right. For quality.
So that you don't have to worry about payment issues.
Yeah. Well, anyways, how do we get in touch with you? I mean, obviously we can buy the book.
Yep. You can buy the book.
People can't remember that title, I don't know how to help.
So the CromeensLawFirm.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Karalynn Cromeens, which my name is spelled funny, Karalynn. I'm only one. You just search that name, you'll find me, because there's no other Karalynn spelled like that ever that I've ever seen. Because my mom was very creative. Anyway, so you can message me on Facebook and we can set up a time to talk. So all the places.
You'll also be in the show notes here, so it's easy to find you. And as I said, you've been on the show before because we talked specifically about material price increases, material price increases, and material substitutions because of just global supply chain issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then let me spell your last name. Actually, I'll let you spell your last name for everybody.
It's Cromeens, which is Cromeens.
Right. Yes. So lots of places to find you.
Yes, I'm out there. Easy to find.
As I said, if you can't find me, you ain't looking.
Exactly.
In this modern internet world. Are you in LinkedIn as well?
Absolutely. Under my name too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I love your insight, and you've got a great approach. You've got lots of stories, which unfortunately, every one of those stories is a painful experience for somebody, but it's what helps you become, better skilled at your trade to help the next person find the shortcuts and tighten up their agreement.
Absolutely. And I'm here to help. That's what I really, my drive is to bring back respect to the construction industry by making sure you're paid, understanding agreements, and to, it's an honorable trade and it deserves to be protected.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thanks, Karalynn. I'm pretty sure you're going to be back again. We'll just wait for when that is.
Look forward to it.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.